This goes out to you. This goes out to you.
Welcome everyone to my Stamina Templar PvP build for the Somerset patch. It took a while to get this build out for several reasons. This patch has been a difficult one for solo gameplay, for 1vx gameplay, for open world. There's lots of things out there that are considered the meta right now, and what I've tried to do is take my time with this build rather than release it straight away with what I've based my ideas on PTS. I've took a while to test it, to min-max it, to make some really interesting tweaks. So I'll try and explain this in the video. I'm going to go into a fair bit of detail, not about the skills in general, just about the changes for this build. So if you want to know more about the Stamplar in general, check out my old Stamplar build videos. I'll go through every skill, every little bit there, but in this one I'll just talk about mainly the sets. I'll talk about some skill choices in terms of counterplay against the current meta, against the cancer that's currently out there. I'll try and justify some of the things I've got and try and explain why I've made the changes I have. Hopefully it'll be really useful. Take the build or leave the build, whatever you want. At the end I'll attach some a short clip of a solo gameplay. I think it's about 10 solo kills, just staggered over time in a resource, which really shows how well the build can work. So yeah, if you're interested, let's get into this. Stay tuned and enjoy. So before I get into a discussion about the sets and the changes, I'll just go over the stat page so you can see whether it's a build that you'd like to run based on these stats. The stats more or less are everything in terms of how the build performs and how the build works. So Max Magicka, really nice. Need this for his cleansers, need this for his utility. Max Health, 26k, brilliant amount for the Troll King to be viable. Any less, you're going to be struggling with how reliable your Troll King heals are. Max Stam, I've dropped 31k, not a big problem. As you can see, we're still buffing to nearly 5,000 weapon damage, maximum damage buffed up there, which, unlike other builds, you need max stam on a Stamplar, similar to a Stam Nightblade. You don't need that high-end max stam. You're getting burst from a lot of moves, you're getting unseen damage, you're getting a lot of different good sort of ways to throw that damage out there. Not like a stam sock where you just add in the wrecking blow after wrecking blow. You know, all of this works into a variety of different moves, so it's really useful. The crit's nice. Say we're in heavy, 37.2. Resistances are solid, and then the big kicker for this, the try recoveries. You know, we've added recovery for everything. This really helps the build sustain. Really helps the build sort of survive solo as well. I'll quickly go over and look at my 2H bar because the buffs go up a little bit more there on the buff bar, and we'll go through that as well. But yeah, solid offensive stats all round. On the 2H buff bar, the stats change sort of slightly. Ignore the max HP, that was just a buff that I got, the difference in time before I took the screenshots, just ignore that. We've talked about the max resources, but obviously the magic recovery goes up a little bit more. The health recovery is almost 1,800 unbuffed. Now that is insane. That is insane on a build where you can get rid of dots and cleanse. It really allows you to be so tanky, and you can see the resistances pop up as well, and a really high stam recovery too. So, you know, in the past I've struggled on a Stamplar with resource management unless you're going and getting kills and repenting. For me, this fixes everything. Really solid defensive stats and offensive stats that you can play off each other. So yeah, next we'll get into the sets, and we'll discuss sort of some moves and how I achieve this. Right, Godplar, let's do this. Let's get into the sets. So the base set is still the same. It's still Ravager, but I've changed up the weapons. Instead of running daggers, in the past I had the double daggers right there, you can see. I've now gone for double axes. Now this is just great for bleed damage. The bleed damage is so OP. It ignores resistances. It can put pressure on Magicka builds and Sorks. It puts pressure on a lot of opponents. It's the unseen damage part of the build. So you want to go dual wield here. You want to go disease, neuroned, and then infused in the offhand. Now, next patch, this will be getting, I don't want to say nerfed, they're just fixing it, because basically the you'll have heard of this before, but the weapon damage, the effect enchant obviously buffs this to 452. This is not buffed, it's still a flat 3420, but it's the cooldown from the infused. Works on the other glyph as well, so that's getting fixed, so that'll be a slight disadvantage next patch, but in terms of for the rest of this patch, you'll enjoy more uptime on your disease damage from dual wield rather than 2H. So yeah, Ravaging Axe, as I've said, dual wield just because of the bleeds. Sorry if you're not sure what the Ravaging set does. It's a really good old school heavy armor set that when it was made, they've got to have just been like Stamplar, heavy armor, done. It's very viable on the Stamplar. If we look at the build up, we're getting crit, health, damage. 3 really nice things. And then the 5th piece, the increase of damage, 630 for 10 seconds, is absolutely huge. And this will proc on jabs, this will proc on rending, light and heavy attacks. I'll go through with the commentary in the videos. It is up more or less most of the time. It's much better, in my opinion, than something like Fury. You know, you're going to have pressure on you for Fury to proc and build up, but you're also going to be cleansing that damage, cleansing that dots. So yeah, stick Fury on a Warden or on a Stamsorg. For me, Ravager is the set that I like to run. Really good. I'll just quickly look into the tool tips on the bleeds that we were talking about real quick. So yeah, let me see. Sorry, yeah. So if you look at the dual wield tooltips, it's the bottom one down here. So each axe gives you melee attacks an 8% chance. So we've got 2, so that's a 16% chance to bleed 10k over 6 seconds. That buffs up, I'll show you later with Ravager a lot more. I think it's on around 12, 13k with the weapon damage buff and the Ravager buff. So just by using axes, you know, this damage is extra pressure that sometimes people don't recognize it. So other times they'll go defensive straight away because you've got this on them. So yeah, really impressed with sort of how the bleeds perform and the axes. In my opinion, double axe best in the slot right now. Farm it, get some AP, you know, go for it. Got to be done. We'll cover the rest of the sets now. Sorry, the Ravager, yeah. So the Ravager I make up on the dual wield, and then I also have it on the biggest body pieces. So we go Ravaging on the chest, and we also go Ravaging on the legs and the feet. That's 3 heavy. Then we run Troll King heavy on the head and the chest. In terms of glyphs, we run a Tristat on the head, Tristat on the chest, and then I think it's just the legs. Yeah, Tristat on the legs. Alright, so this is where you're going to get your 5 heavy from. Now what's great is, and you don't have to do it this way, it's really weird the way I've done it, but what's great is by adding in a crafted set, and the crafted set is old school Willow's Path. By putting in this set, we can access Undaunted, so even though our stamina drops off by quite a bit, it's not really that impactful, and then we get the bonus of the Undaunted for the health and for the Magicka. So the Willow's Path we run on the jewellery. Very weird. You could easily run Ravager on the jewellery. I just didn't have a chance to trait change. I was learning jewellery anyway. A buddy sorted me out with this when I came up with the build idea. So yeah, you want weapon damage in all 3. I've not really tested any of the others. I dare say this is still best in slot, so yeah, I've weapon damage on all 3 jewelleries, and eventually hopefully you can gold them out. And then the second smallest piece we go for the hands medium, and then the tiny piece waist we go for light. All impen all the way through. Crit resist, you can almost get to 3k with a bit extra in CP, and from the impen trait, so it's a really nice way to mitigate damage that's going to basically burst you down and blow you up. So we'll talk about the Willow's Path now. It's really nice. Magicka recovery, stamina recovery, health recovery, and then a try recovery at the end. So we've got this flat on a 5-piece. The only reason why on the buff bar they're slightly different is because of the extra 2H that I've got. That's a different set, and because of like things like Repentance and the Werewolf passives that I run back bar. So that's the only reason why it changes. But by sacrificing the max stam that we had from running Bone Pirate, and the restriction of the food that we got from running Bone Pirate, and the fact that last patch we didn't even have the damage from it, you know, I'm out of there. I'm not trusting that shit anymore. Willow's Path is where it's at. Old school set, craft it up, you're gonna love it. Mix and match whichever way you want to access Undaunted. If you've got the transmute stones, change your jewelry up. This way was just a lot easier for me. So yeah, those are the sets. Sorry, actually, yeah, the 2H. Make sure the 2H is a axe. This is because this is a different bleed passive. So a lot of people say that you really struggle with sort of going on to 2H on back bar on a Stamplar. You would if you were a medium, but in this tanky build, you're not. You can afford to throw some buffs down on the back bar to weave in some heavy attacks. When I use a spear from the back bar, I heavy attack first, or I light attack cancel first, and you know, it's giving you a chance to proc a different type of bleed. The 2H bleed, if you don't know this, is different to the dual wield bleed. I'll quickly show you this too. So if we're going to dual wield, obviously you've seen the build, the bleed before, but the two-handed bleed is where are we? Ever weapons, yeah, so it's still a 16% chance 10k bleed. I don't know if that's buffed. That will obviously buff with Ravager as well. A lot more. What am I doing? Two-handed passives. Yeah, so 16% chance, 10.3 physical damage over 6 seconds. If you get both these bleeds on people, this is the unseen damage that I'm talking about that's going to feed into your power of light, and they're going to pop, they're going to go. The extra set piece that I've got, you can choose. I went for a 2-piece set, health recovery, just to up on my defensive bar. When I want to attack, I'll be on the dual wield bar. When I want to defend, I'll most of the time be pogoing, jumping around, cleansing on this bar. Alright, so in my opinion it was worth it. If you want extra magicka, if you want extra stamina, there's so many options. You know, choose what you want, but make it an axe, make it defending. Poisons, it's up to you. Sort of troublesome sort of 1vx's I'm coming up against is where it's multiple mag sorks. They are the meta right now. There's so many noobs on them, just surfing around on them, and you know, they can make it a glass cannon. They can make the build absolutely pony, but still get you at the back with the fury. You know, these guys need to drop, you need to pressure them. So 10.5 seconds, 10-second cooldown, you can weave this in. On a medium Stamplar, you might struggle. On a heavy Stamplar, get the heavy attacks. I'm used to doing it because of the way I used to sustain old builds, but you've got extra sustain added in, and if you still keep the heavy attacking up on the back bar, that works really well too. So yeah, I think basically that is most of the things I want to talk about in terms of the sets and the things I've changed. You've seen the stats. I think next we'll go over some skills real quick and just look at some buff stats, some buff tooltips, and then we'll cover CP and a couple of different things. So right. One of the things I've not actually mentioned, Troll King. I've talked about it briefly in terms of how to make it reliable and work. You need a good amount of HP, you need a good health pool. Without that, the gamble becomes, well, it becomes more of a gamble and less of a factor that's going to keep you alive. So if we look at it, 2% healing done, 2 items. When you heal a friendly target, if they're still below 50% health, they'll regen, their health recovery will increase by 1512 for 10 seconds. What I really like about this is the time. 10 seconds with that increased health recovery, which is going to stack with the health recovery we've already got as a base HP recovery. It works so well for this patch, just trust me. Bloodspawn, it's got a place in some builds, but on a Stamplar, you're cleansing the damage all the time. Bloodspawn's not going to be up. Now this is so reliable. I've got a video clip where I drop below 50% and my rally's up, and the tick of a heal just from a rally, not the burst heal, just the tick that you get from a heal, procs this. So at 50% health, I'm still at 13k. I'm still confident I'm not going to get bursted. But obviously at that point then, when the HP recovery procs, it's an extra heal that's covering me. You know, I might not get a chance to get that vigor on, or maybe I can get line of sight, and then I've got line of sight, and then my HP's full. I don't need the burst rally. I can let that tick down for some more. So it's not much of a gamble when you run it in a heavy set, and if you run it with sort of just the right amount of health. So yeah, Troll King I really love. In terms of buffing this up, I will find the stats. I'm not really sure off the top of my head. I'm sure it peaks 4k. I'm sure it's around 4k buffed, which is more than enough to carry you with the extra heals. So yeah, we'll get into the next part of the build video now. So we know the weapon damage is extremely high with the Ravager, but we'll just look at how the Ravager and the weapon damage proc affects the bleed damage as well. So hopefully I'll get the proc straight on. I'll not have to mess around. So I'll just jab first to get the Ravager. Okay, and get the enchant. And if we go into skills, do wield right at the bottom, we can see 12.6. 12.6 over 6 seconds is absolutely huge for damage that's passive. You think about the second class I really like to play, but I'm not playing so much, is Stamplar. You think about the Stamplar's dizzies and the wrecking blows, you know, they're not always going to connect. This, once it is on, it is on. It's such a strong proc, and obviously you've got both chances to apply. The bleeds do apply quite a lot. We can see, you know, just by weaving in, we can see we've got bleed there, 5 seconds, and we can also get the bleed off the back bar as well. You can see a different bleed procced up there. So both of those can be on at the same time, which is really, really good. In terms of the Dawnbreaker tooltips, I think it's around 16k. Trust me, with the power of light, it's enough. The power of light is slightly affected because of the low max stam, but it's not wasted. You know, it is very. I wouldn't say it's low, but it can be higher. But it's wasted. You don't need it. You know, 18k copy damage is amazing. It's more than enough. You know, I can buff this to maybe 23, 24. This is enough. When this is going to pop, they are most of the time going to go. Alright, so don't worry about the lack of damage there. But it's the way the Ravager buffs the other things. In terms of the jabs, really, really strong damage overall. Should we see another move I'm going to explain? Rending. I'm not going to go through them all, alright, but rending slashes, this is great. You know, you get an initial hit of the damage, you get a really, really strong bleed, the third type of bleed that we've got on this build, and you get the reduced movement speed, so you can land jabs more comfortably, alright. So we'll just see what the rending buff's up to actually. We'll get the Ravager on first. I'll not weave, and then I'll weave after just to get the enchant. So we can see, yeah, 12-9 over 9 seconds. Huge damage. 3 types of passive damage, all from bleeds. This is what makes this class OP. In terms of my other skills on this bar, I won't go through them all. Well, I will go through them all, but I won't explain them all in detail. If you want a detailed guide on the burst rotation, which is exactly the same, and you want sort of some of these moves explained in a bit more detail, you can check out my previous build, which explains that. This is more of just an update for this patch specifically, and the changes of sets. But we'll go through it anyway. So quick cloak, speed, mobility, 25% reduced AoE damage. Meteors, we're covered. Dawnbreakers, we're covered. Magplar's jabs, right? You don't even need to jump around anymore. You can just take this. You know, a Stamplar will be running this, so they'll mitigate your damage. Alright, but Magplars, you can just laugh them out of the park. 25% mitigated damage from their main source of burst. We'll take it all day long. Alright. Power of the light we've discussed. Watch my other video if you want to see the burst rotation with this. But basically, light attack rending, bob on the power, light attack jabs, overflow of everything, Dawnbreaker to finish them. Carry on jabbing. Alright, no excuse. Dawnbreaker, carry on jabbing. Easy days. Jabs, main spammable. Make sure you get the stamina morph, simple as that. Rending, you don't need the other morph. The other morph will give healing, and healing we've got enough of. Vigor, standard, heal over time. This is not very high, but it's reliable enough. I think it buffs to something like 16k, which on top of the other heals that we gain, it's more than enough. And obviously Dawnbreaker for the ulti. In terms of the back bar, what I like to call the buff bar, you're going to be on this to apply CC, to apply heavy bleeds, and basically to buff up, to move around, to get that evasion. Once you've gone onto this, you know, you've got really nice movement on a heavy Stamplar, pogoing all the way around open world. So yeah, the buff bar. Whoops, sorry, bear with me. So this is important. This is important to over sustain. Alright, you need this for the extra magicka. So you've got your crazy eye magicka recoveries, but you've also got the 120 of every 5/10 of a second. Alright, so this adds up. In effect, we're over sustaining in terms of magicka, but on a stamina class, that is not a bad thing. Alright, because the magicka that we use, it adds sort of survivability, it adds group utility, and it's perfect to counter slows this patch. Alright. So repentance, this is what changes, this is what fluctuates the different stats on the other bars. So obviously you can see the lower, my recoveries are lower on the Julia bar, but the recoveries are higher on the 2H bar. That's just because right there we get the at 10%. You know, you've got to stack into things. The try 10% from this is working with the try 15% from Willows. Alright, so really, really good. Our cleanse, extended ritual, you want the morph that gets rid of 5 ample effects, and you want to be spamming this. Put it down, you get a snare passively from this, so you can build your little Stamplar, Godplar house, and sort of not really build the house and stay in it, but you can put this on line of sight and move around a rock, and you're still within it all the time. So this is great in terms of counterplay as well for Slodes users. You can just laugh at them all day long. I think on the PTS today actually it had a nerf where Slodes is now becoming a projectile, so it's even more laughable. Alright, but even this patch, with the way it's working right now, we can cleanse this off, we can laugh at this. Magic Sorks, they're like the new Nightblade of this patch. You know, everyone and their mothers have got them, and they're pogoing and they're running them, and don't get me around it, they're overpowered. We know why they're overpowered, because of the CC, the range damage, the shields, alright, but when you come up against them, you might think this is only good for like Magplars and Mag DKs. They're really, really high focused on dots. But by using this, we can cleanse the curse as well. Now, I've done this against good players, where it's not really, I don't know, it's not a big counter, but it's making them question when to do their burst, whether to waste it or whether to be precise and hold it. And crap players that don't know what I'm doing when I'm getting rid of that curse, they're carrying on with their burst, and the burst just becomes laughable, and then you can counter them. Alright, so that's why I run this patch, and that's why I built into the extra Magicka sustained. Sort of all those things coming together to support the situation that we're in this patch. Standard CC, Javelin. This can be not, yeah, it can be clunky for the opponents to break, which is a great thing. You know, you want that. It's like the good old reverb. You know, you cancel it and they're stuck in it. Alright? But the problem you can have with it sometimes, depending if you're in a choke situation, you're not, or you've got good line of sight, or you're moving around something, the way the delay comes on the servers, the way you're looking at them when you send out the Javelin, slash the split second of when it hits them, if they've moved position on their end of the game, they'll be aiming that way, the way they're going. It's really, really weird. You expect them to fly out in front and you to jab, and most of the time they will do, but just be aware sometimes they can fling off in any random direction. Alright, so just be aware of that. It's not as reliable as ending the Power of Light with the Dawnbreaker, but when you can't end it with the Dawnbreaker, you want to end it with the Javelin, and straight back into the jabs over the top of them. Alright, Rally's great, just because we don't need Shuffle. Shuffle costs a lot in terms of a stamina sense. This costs a lot in terms of a Magicka sense, but it's extra, it's surplus. We're just Magicka dumping all the time for this. Alright, so don't worry about that. But the Rally heal works really, really well. You've got the burst heal for the, you know, you've messed up moment, or when you're getting the big burst when the ulti dumps are coming. But you also get the tick. Now the tick is really important, because when you can be lazy with your heals sometimes. You know, the vigors, sometimes I cancel a vigor and it doesn't go on. Sometimes I'm under pressure and I miss that vigor. Alright, you know, I'm not a robot. With this ticking, if you drop below 50%, this can proc Troll King, which is absolutely amazing. Alright, you've got just like extra heals from the gods just covering you. Alright, really, really good. And the Werewolf Transformation backbar. This is only backbar just for the extra 15% on the stamina recovery. Alright, another good move is Remembrance. This is good, but I only ever use it block cancelled to get the 30% damage mitigation. Then I'm normally moving, trying to find line of sight. You can't really use this because people will just build on you and hunt you down anyway. But sort of in a 1v4, 1v3, this could be quite nice. But then would you prefer the stamina recovery? 1vx this patch, solo 1vx. This is what it's all about. All right, it's so much luck involved. You can over sustain, and if you're over sustaining, you're definitely over sustaining by dropping damage. Maybe you don't need that sustain, maybe in that case you did need the damage to burst the guys down. If you are over sustaining, more people are pounding on you, you're going from 3 to 5 to 6 to 10, and then you're just going to drop. Alright, it's just a situation where you're not going to be able to win that. By getting the resource management, the way you recover, perfect and balanced with your weapon damage, you've not got that problem. So that's what you need. You need the perfect combination between both. So These are now like really fine changes. You know, you can drop the 15% and put on remembrance. You just need to consider the situation that you're in and think about which one you want to use at the time. So I know I'm going into detail about this, but this is why I'm doing this build. I want it to be educational. I want you to understand the things that I'm saying. If you don't, just comment below. We'll go through that. I'll take this time as well to say thank you for the subs. You know, the subs have been increasing, not rapidly but steadily. People asking for content, people appreciating content. So wherever that's happening, I'll keep releasing things. All right. So that covers the skills. Next, let's look into the race. Yeah, we'll look into the race. So the race on this patch is an orc. I'll stick with an orc for several reasons. The increase that you get in terms of wait 1 second, I'll just quickly find it up. The increase that you get in terms of your HP recovery. You know, you've got to put things into place that you're stacking in. If it's something that in your head when you're making the build you're thinking, I've stacked into this, stack into it some more. Alright. Max health and max stam 6%. For me, this is better than a red for a Stamplar. This is better than a red guard. Alright, with red guard, you're going to get the higher max stam, but with this, you get a nice equal split. Alright, what use is the extra max stam if you're dying? Alright, if you're dead, if you can't survive burst, and burst is high this patch. So the max health works really nice, and obviously we get access to the Undaunted, the triglyphs, bumps it up a little bit more. I talked about the unflinching, and then the Swift Warrior. Alright, so you get increased damage with melee attacks by 4%. This scales really nice with the roughly 5k damage that we already have in terms of the tooltips. Alright, and the movement speed. One thing Stamplars lack in a sense is mobility, or sustained mobility, I would say. Alright, with this, I've got reduced sprint cost and increased movement speed by 10%. Works really well with the quick look morph that we've got, so that's where the synergy comes from there. Alright, in terms of the food we like to run, alright, Actinium takeaway broth. This thing's bugged. It says it's a drink, it's not a drink. It won't work with Bone Pirate. Alright, ideally this is the business with Bone Pirate, but it doesn't work with Bone Pirate, so that's why we're on Willows right now. Okay. But you get the max health, which you need, but then you get the health recovery, 351, and then max stam recovery as well. Alright, this is also a good option, but your max stam will not be enough with this. Okay, so this is why we take this one, and we make up for the magic recovery through the rune, like I've explained elsewhere. Alright, so it's an expensive food, but for when I play, I'm on and I pop the food and I'm solid for 2 hours. You know, I'm BGing, I'm getting content, I'm open worlding. Alright, you're not wasting time. If you're wanting to la-di-da and test stuff, don't put this on, but it's worth it. Alright, you want the top end things, you want the top end food. I'll put in the link how to get this. It's really simple. Everyone loves a bit of fishing. Alright, so this is the food that I run. In terms of the pots, lingering you don't need. Alright, your HP regen is fine, and lingering you don't need. I prefer these ones to get a 10-second knockback. Alright, you get the health recovery, which is nice, stacks into the HP regen again, and you get the stamina recovery. Alright, so tech capping a resource and keeping this up, you're going to be over sustaining. Not over sustaining from base, but you will achieve good sustain, which won't be wasted because you're not slacking from anywhere else. Tripods are also good in duels. This is not a dueling build, alright, but if people want to duel you 1v1, you know, Bobley's on, you won't be losing. Most of the time people will realise you're in heavy and you're in Troll King, and they won't duel you. Alright, but you just said this is an open world build. This is an outnumbered build. Alright, if you wanted to duel, you'd be on a match sorg clearly. Alright, it's not a dueling build. It's also not a Zergin build. Don't put this on if you want to run around in a group of 20 Zergin. Alright, go for all out glass cannon burst, automaton ravager. Alright, this is specific for small group play and for open world play and solo play when you can get that down, of course. So yeah, the tri stats are really nice as well. Essence of movability, gone through all of those. Is there anything left to cover? We've covered Mundus. Sorry, I'm not sure if I mentioned this. So obviously you want the serpent for the extra recovery there, and you get the, obviously you can see the the werewolf passive there. Next patch, werewolves are getting buffed, and I've got some pretty good ideas for a werewolf on a Stamplar. Everything is already leveled and ready to go, so I'm going to see how that falls out on PTS and look at those changes. But yeah, look out for the werewolf content. All right, sub and like and share. It's coming, trust me. So talked about race, talked about pots, foods, potions, skills done. Yes, I think lastly we'll cover the champion points. All right, now I'll briefly explain these. 60. I've talked about it in previous videos as well. You don't want diminishing returns. All right, 21.18% is better than wasted points going to 21.75%. All right, it will just get it over the cusp. That's all you need. 61 in Warlord, 21%, 18% break recovery. Mooncalf, 49 in this, generates 11% more stam recovery. Healthy, 11% more health recovery. In my opinion, you don't need these. This is covered from wearing heavy armor anyway, and we're over sustaining magicka as it is, so that's absolutely fine. Befoul, this is getting nerfed next patch, but right now it's really good in terms of your disease enchant, which we did explain earlier, has got a good uptime from the infused bug. Right, you can put the minor defile on them, which stacks with this, so this is nice. The rest into tumbling. You could go you could go block cost, alright, but tumbling is occasionally, roll dodge is occasionally used. Sometimes offensively to get the position where you can jab to get the line of sight, defensively, alright. Don't roll dodge like you're on a medium build, just roll dodge just when you need to. And I think I'd rather be tanky and jump anyway. Puts people off, and most of the time, you know, your roll dodges, I know it's bug dispatch, Fury, crap like that is still hitting you on your roll dodge, the explosion that you get from it, the proc, that's still hitting you anyway. Alright, roll dodge is unreliable. Medium roll dodge is unreliable on this class, in my opinion. Nothing in here. Nice little spread in this one. Alright, we've got 10% more on our light and heavy attack damage. Alright, you will be weaving with your jabs in terms of that rotation, just like a PvE rotation, you're weaving in your PvP rotation. Alright, so this will give the light attacks and heavy attacks a nice buff. Master at Arms, it buffs initial hit of your big hitting moves, so the initial hit of the Dawny, the initial hit of the Rending, things like that. Shattering Blows, just over 5%, you know why, you know what you're going to be coming into this patch. You want to counter them, you want to make them think like, yeah, I've jumped on the meta and I can't do it. Yeah, good socks are good socks, but I just don't like the old hype around you've got to play this, you've got to play that. By making this video I'm proving, yeah, Stamplar, it's like quiet in the background, it's ready for action. Alright, Stamplar all the way, fam. Next, Thermitage, 56, generates as 20.15%. This will buff our jabs significantly, but it will also buff the hit of the Dawnbreaker, the bleeds. It will buff Rending, it will buff jabs, and it will buff both different bleeds. Alright, so you're getting your money's worth. 56 in here, generates 20.15, very, very nice. 37 in precise strikes. I think crits around 37 on this. Now with the axes, we're close to 50 with the daggers, but around 30 in heavy, you know, this is fine. You're going to get some crits, you're going to enjoy those. The 26 in piercing doesn't generate too much, but it's enough on top for that extra pen. Well, we don't have any access to any major fractures, but we do have minor fracture from Power of the Light. So this, with the Power of the Light, will make our penetration enough, trust me. Alright, and then 43 into mighty, 10.15% damage mitigation there. Going to the next tree, burst damage. So burst is basically what's going to get you killed. If you drop on 3 or 4 people and they've not got the combined burst, you're fine. Just don't mess up, you've got these. Alright, but in most of the cases from good players, it's the burst that's going to mess you up. Mitigate that damage there, 66. 43 into resistant. Alright, this doesn't scale well, but in my opinion it's worth it. Layered on top of the other impen. You know, some people don't run resistance sets and they don't stack into resistances, they just defend by stacking into crit resist. Alright, this is an extra layer. Rather than going one extreme way of defending, we've got it layered. We've got eye crit resistance, eye base resistance, good healing. Alright, that is sustained, that's survivability right there. So this is not wasted in my opinion. 43 is fine. Thick skinned. Now I know you will be cleansing most of the dots. through by utilizing cleanse. You cleanse the dots, but this is still worth it. All right, some things are on you. Sometimes you can't cleanse everything. 28 to generate 12% here is recommended. Split this how you like. I just go 49 there, 43 there, making sure you're always getting the Unchained passive. And lastly, just a bit of a dump into heavy armor focus. All right, I just feel it's nice sometimes just to have that extra physical resistance, and it balances out with the passive resistances that we get. Okay, so yeah, that really covers everything. I'm going to attach a nice clip at the end of the video. It's a solo. It's in a keep. Sorry, it's not solo. It's not in a keep. I keep away from keeps. Keeps are too laggy. It's a solo takeover resource where I get some staggered players. I think it's around 10 kills. I get some like 1v3s, some 1v4s, some 1v2s combined in there. So yeah, just check it out. If you like my content, please comment, questions, like, sub, share, anything like that. Hope you enjoy it. I'll attach the clip right at the end. Take care, guys. Judas McGavin out.
Yeah. Chicka what? Chicka who? Chicka what? Chicka who? Chicka what? You gonna leave the vocal in, right? Cheer. Motherfuckers wanna act loco. Hit them up, numerous shots with a fofo. Facts wanna turn them po-po, smoke them like cocoa. Fuck rap, coke by the boatload. Fuck that, on the run by gun high when I close. That pole too, some got closed. Stop your bullshit, clock with the full clip. Motherfuckers better duck when the full spit. One shot can make a nigga do a full flip. Seen a nigga like a shot when the full hit. Hey, my how you? No niggas wanna buy you. You see me, I wanna fuck for free. Like Aganelli. Take a ride, make you feel it inside your belly. If it's tight, get the KY jelly. All night, get you wide up beside the telly. Side to side till you say, JC, you're too much for me. I am
a little bit of loneliness, a little bit of disregard, handful of complaints, but I can't help the fact that everyone can see these scars. I am what I want you to want, what I want you to feel, and it's like no matter what I do, I can't convince you to just believe this is real. So I let go, watching you turn your back like you always do, face away and pretend that I'm not. I'll be here 'cause you're all that I got.
But condoms into the same place where the rhymes have been in. So all I do is rap sex. Imagine how I stroke. See how it's flowing on my last set. Rapping fight like I'm blasting the tech. Never jam though, never get high, never run out of ammo. Niggas hating the shit 'cause the J's your bitch. Now your favorite, I know what made you sick. And now you're after all, but you never had war. Know how to carry your hoes, wanna marry your hoes. Now she's mad at me 'cause your majesty just happened to be a pimp with a tragedy. She want us to end 'cause I fucked her friend. She gave me one more chance and I fucked her again. I seen the tears as she busted in. I said shit, there's a drag. Shut the door, bitch, come on in.
I am a little bit insecure, a little unconfident, 'cause you don't understand. I do what I can, but sometimes it don't make sense. I am what you never wanna say, but I've never had a doubt. It's like no matter what I do, I can't convince you for once just to hear me out. So I let go, watching you turn your back like you always do, face away and pretend that I'm not. I'll be here 'cause you're all that I got.